to our Women in Data event, everyone. We're very excited to have everybody join our call. We want this event to be a way for just all of our community members to have a place where they can network with one another. And we want everybody to speak up at some point and just introduce yourself. During your introduction, please make it very brief and short, just about one sentence where it's explaining your name, your company, and your job title. And throughout the conversation, we'll be having a Q&A, and we'll open it up for a more open-ended conversation. So if anyone has any questions, then feel free to just bring up your questions later on. And as a reminder, this call is being recorded and it will be published later for other people in our community to take a listen to the event. And after the event, we'll make sure to connect everybody on LinkedIn just to keep the connection and the community going. And with all of that being said, I'm going to send this over to our two hosts for this event, Christina and Tatiana. So Christina, let's just get started with you. Can you please introduce yourself, and then we'll send it over to Tatiana.
Yeah, perfect. So first of all, thank you, Catherine, and the whole Data Standard team for inviting me on and setting all of this up. A little bit about me as one of the hosts today. So my name is Christina Stathopoulos. I am originally from the US, from North Carolina, but I've been based in Madrid, Spain since 2012. I think I'm the only one maybe connecting from Europe right now. And I am dedicated to the world of data. So I currently work as a data specialist at Google. I'm also an adjunct professor of analytics at IE Business School. And on the side, I guest lecture and public speak professionally. And on the education side, I have a master in business analytics and big data, an MBA, and of course, my original bachelor's was in statistics. And a little bit about my work to have an idea what I do on a day-to-day basis. Well, at Google, I work on implementing advanced data projects for some of our largest advertisers. It usually revolves around understanding auction dynamics or understanding market behavior to drive business decisions. And I work a lot with Google search data, which for me, it's wonderfully rich data. You can get a lot out of it. It's very fun to work with. And then on the IE Business School side, my lecturing is done on analytics topics. So business analytics, data visualization, data ethics, and so on. And my side involvements in public speaking and lecturing usually, of course, are around analytics, but also I participate in a lot of women in tech events or women in STEM. And I love doing anything that I can to push for more diversity, especially in tech where there's a lack of it. And I've been blessed to have the chance to travel a lot, even for public speaking, and getting to interact in other cultures and other countries and meeting women who work in this field. Especially, I've traveled a lot around Central Asia and the Middle East, and getting to interact with those cultures, learn about maybe the struggles they're having. It's been very eye-opening. So I will, first of all, happy to be here, and I'll pass it over to Tatiana to give her intro as well.
Thank you, Christina, and thank you, Catherine. I echo Christina's sentiment. I'm really grateful to be here and really hope that we can all share our experiences being women in tech and data is a rare occasion these days, although I am very happy to see more and more women, especially women of color, entering and being very prominent in the field. So really hoping that, and I'm excited to be doing more to increase that diversity. So I have a somewhat similar story to Christina, ironically. So I am originally born and raised in Moscow, Russia. And I moved right after college. I moved to the US. It was in 2011.
Tatiana, you followed the exact opposite path.
Exactly. So I wanted to say similar. It's similar, the opposite, but you know, to me, it's kind of the same. So we went in the opposite directions, but in pursuit of our dream, which ended up being in the data profession. But I went for graduate school, so I did my master's degree in Columbia University, and I ended up staying in New York thereafter. My career path was a little bit, it was no career path is easy or linear, but my career path was sort of, I was trying different things, and I was trying to understand what I like and don't like in the industry of healthcare. So I've been in healthcare for almost 10 years at this point. Always knew I wanted to be in healthcare. Right now I'm at Novartis Pharmaceuticals, which is one of the top pharma companies based in Switzerland. I am a solutions director for data science and AI group at Novartis, which is a hub of the data science within the company. And my career path started in the health tech field. So I actually, right after my grad school, I joined a healthcare startup company in New York, which is now the largest lab data aggregator. So I was leading data science there. I quit my job. I became an entrepreneur. I was an entrepreneur for a few years. And then right at the point of, me pivoting into a different market, I sort of decided to put my entrepreneurship career on hold, and I joined Novartis. On the side, I'm also teaching. I'm an adjunct professor at Rutgers Business School. I teach data and analytics, and I'm also an instructor for a digital education company for post-professional education that's called BrainStation. It's a Canadian company. So I teach data and analytics for BrainStation as well. And I'm also a public speaker, so I talk at all kinds of data science conferences, mostly for healthcare and pharmaceutical and life science business. And I'm also on the board of Pharmaceutical Management Science Association, which is an association that aims to advance the agenda of data science for life science companies. My career so far has also been very male dominated. I oftentimes find myself the only woman in the room. It's very common. But like I said before, I'm very, very excited to see more diversity being brought into the field and more women either entering STEM or pivoting into STEM, which is very exciting. And I also see more and more women pulling other women up and creating more diversity on the leadership level, which is, in my belief and in my views, is how you really change the makeup of the organization, is by elevating women not just into the profession, but also into the leadership positions. But I'll stop here for now and turn it over to you guys. Would love to learn more about you, and I'll let Catherine moderate and take it over from here.
Yeah, sounds great. And that's awesome. I didn't know both of you were professors, so it's fun to see both of our hosts are professors. Yeah, so another question I wanted to ask is just, what is your biggest accelerator in your career as a woman in data? And so I think we'll just start with our hosts, and then we'll go around the room, and we'll have everybody also answer that and have their intros as well. So Tatiana, how about we start with you first? So just, what is your biggest accelerator as a career? And then we'll pass it over to Christina. And then after Christina, we'll just do popcorn. And then you can just pick someone else after that.
Sure, yes. So my biggest career accelerant, honestly, have been people. I cannot imagine that I would be where I am today without my network and people who I've been close to over the course of the years. So my network is a makeup of not just healthcare and life science, and not even just data science. It's a very broad spectrum of people who I've met over the years, either through different things, it's just through different events, through different gigs that I've done, through teaching, through speaking. And my network is, I would say, maybe number one reason why for opportunities that I've gotten. And every opportunities that I've gotten, it either advanced my career or it helped me learn something to advance my career. But I firmly believe that in the world of data and tech, it's very easy to forget the power of people and connections. And I think that's one of the most powerful things that we have. We have each other, and helping each other advance and help each other grow is something that I cannot overstress or overestimate. So yeah, so Christina, how about you?
Well, first, I think that we're more similar than I realized. We've only met once before virtually, but my answer also revolves around people. A little bit different though. So it is people, but I would say my biggest accelerator has been having male allies who have helped me. They've believed in me along the way. I have had female allies too, of course, but less influence because working in tech, most of my managers or most of the people with influence in the organization were male. But I've had these male allies, managers that they really pushed me to excel. They saw my potential and they helped me grow. Even for example, my appointment as an adjunct professor at the university where I work at, it was driven by a top male faculty member. He believed in me, and he's the one that took that risk to recommend me. I was quite young at the time to be appointed for this type of position. He gave me a lot of responsibility. He guided me, he advised me as I began working in academia for the first time. So I think it's really important, people, of course, to find allies, males and females, to help drive us to our full potential. Now, I don't know if someone wants to volunteer to go next to share your own experiences, or I can just randomly call on someone.
I think Neelam wants to go.
Go for it then.
Hi, everybody. I'm Neelam Mohanty. I'm currently an architect on the technology side at Nationwide, and I have several years of experience both in data and digital technologies. And Catherine will share with you that we share a common university. So I'm also doing a 9-month certification in machine learning from the University of San Diego, their extension. In terms of what's been the biggest accelerator, I'm going to give a different outlook. Of course, people are always there, but for me, it's being able to pivot and gain different experiences. My undergraduate was in chemical engineering back in India, and then I've got a master's in computer science here in the United States. And I got into data pretty early, and data was really hot, went into big data, all sides of data engineering. Dabbled a little bit in advanced analytics, but never a whole lot. And then again, I had a manager who took a chance on me and gave me this opportunity to work on digital technology. So now I've had a complete different perspective for the last 2 years in approaching application development from the front end versus the back end. And by the way, Christina, I'm also the enterprise search product architect for Nationwide. So when you mentioned Google search, that resonated so much with me. We'll have to catch up offline on our search stories. And then, I'm doing the certificate course in advanced analytics, which is, again, broadening my horizon. So what I would tell folks is always be ready to pivot and look at things from different angles, because it will make you a better data scientist or wherever you want to go at the end. And I will pick Wendy with her wonderful cup of tea.
Thanks, Nina. So a little bit different. So my name is Wendy O'Neill. I'm a director of data solutions at Sirius Computer Solutions. And, part of how I kind of had my career progression over the years is I am kind of a planner, and I decided, okay, I'd like to do this. And, understanding that I want to take this next challenge. And then preparing myself, educating myself, but also asking for it, because a lot of times I think as women, if I hadn't have asked that, I want to become a manager of people and to start to go down more of a managerial path versus technical, the decisions I made, I don't know that I would have gotten that opportunity. I found some good allies, and I started to talk to them, VPs in the company. These are some of my goals. How do you recommend I get there? What are some things I should be working on and educating myself around, and really doing that? But I think it came down to actually asking for it. Because if I was just waiting for someone to promote me to, manager, director, whatever, I wasn't necessarily going to get it. I wasn't as vocal. And I think it took me a while to become more vocal about, telling people about, these are the things, the skills I bring to the table. These are the assets that I have. I'm very good at collaborating. I'm very good at working with people, mentoring, that kind of thing. So letting people know what my skill sets were. So it took me a while to kind of get to that point of being vocal about my skills in a positive way. So that's kind of where I started. And boy, unless someone can raise their hand, and I see Andrea smile. Oh, Bobby, sorry, Bobby, you rose your hand.
Thanks. So my name is Bobby Caginelli. I'm the head of data science and governance with Security Benefit, which is a retirement services company. And I would say be a lifelong learner. I started out in call centers. I had dropped out of college at 19, worked my way up to a directorship, being on the operations side of call centers in financial services. And then I went back to school at 38 and I got my undergrad in international business and economics. I didn't stop and went directly on to a master's program for a MS in business analytics. Technology moves so quickly, and the way that decision making is being made is changing so quickly that you have to be willing to continue to learn, whether it's in a structured program or just going out and reading white papers and attending conferences and finding out what other people are doing. When you start to feel comfortable in your role, it's time to reassess the role. One thing that I find very common with women is that we don't apply for a job unless we meet 100% of the requirements of the job description. And studies have found that men will apply for a job if they meet 60% of the requirements of a job description. So be willing to put yourself out there in a role that's uncomfortable and learn along the way and continue to grow and learn that way. And I think that has been the best lesson that I've learned throughout everything. Who would like to, Nivi?
Hi, I'm Nivi, and I lead a data engineering organization in the tech industry at Silicon Valley. So one thing I've learned that has been very pivotal in my career is really taking risks. And as women, we tend to not take risks, but every time I've taken a risk, even though everybody else in my circle would say that's not a great idea, you're not thinking ahead, but if there's something that I want to do and I like to do, I've taken that risk. And I won't say that it has always been successful, but I think it has always moved me in the right direction forward because it has made me grow as a person and as a leader. And another thing which I think is very pivotal is managers, really good visionary managers that come and tap you on the shoulder and push you to do more. And I can think of a few of them who have been outstanding. And actually, they saw potential that I didn't see, and they pushed where I thought I couldn't go. So I think those two combinations, having that nature to take risk and be ready to fail. And then the other thing is having really visionary managers. And I can pick someone else. Anyone would like to go? Otherwise, I will pick Andrea. There you go, Andrea.
I was putting my hand up, but it was like in the blur. Okay, so I'm Andrea, and so I'm a senior manager in Canada for a grocery chain called Loblaws, a fairly big company here in Canada. And I'd say my biggest accelerant is sort of a mix of people and asking for what you want. So I have, you know, an advanced degree with a medical sciences background, and here I am in retail. And so I really didn't know like how my skills, I don't have like a real data science or computer science degree. I did some stuff in my studies. And so entering retail as my first job, it was tricky to understand how I would, you know, do. But as I saw, you know, what I was able to accomplish, I was able to articulate that to my manager and say, you know, this is what I have accomplished. This is where I want to be. How do we close that gap? And what do you need to see from me to make me go to the next step? And then, you know, having that visibility with other folks who could say the right things in the room to help me get to that next step. And just being promoted to associate manager put me on the map for managerial positions that brought me to, you know, senior manager very quickly. But essentially just finding that sweet spot of being able to talk about what you're able to do well and what you've accomplished without coming off as arrogant, I think is really tricky. And I think especially as women, when I speak to a lot of my friends, they're like, well, I don't, you know, I did this with a team and it was, you know, a lot of other people did stuff. And I really focus on being like, no, this is what I've done. And this is why I think we should move. And so it's tricky, but I feel like that's helped out. And then getting people on your team to tell you where you need to grow. And I will pass it off to Brenna.
Hi everyone, my name is Brenna. I'm a data scientist at Act0, which is a small cybersecurity company. And my background, I really sort of did a big pivot as well, as I know some other people have. So my background is in renewable energy and material sciences, working on fuel cells and batteries in a lab. And so it was quite a shift from that to cybersecurity. And I think for me, the biggest thing is just being willing to just try totally new things. I knew nothing about cybersecurity, but I was like, hey, it sounds super interesting. I could learn a lot. And it's been, I think, super helpful to just keep an open mind about like, this is not my field of expertise and I'm going to try it anyway. Maybe I'll like it. I saw one hand earlier, but I can't remember who had raised their hand wanting to go. Stephanie, do you want to go?
Yeah, I wasn't the one earlier, so I feel bad if I stole someone's thunder. But my name is Stephanie, and I'm currently an analyst at Deloitte. And we've had a lot of people say like great things so far. And kind of what I think has accelerated me the most is similar to what Bobby said, putting yourself out there and being flexible. Consulting is not something I thought I would be in, but I am relatively, recent graduate. And I found out that it was an excellent way to kind of explore multiple industries and figure out which industries I'm really excited about. And then also kind of going off a little bit about what Andrea said, being kind of honest and transparent with your executives or your leaders about kind of adding to that what you are kind of finding out about your passions are. I know I am relatively young, but I also know someone else said it, I will be a lifelong learner and I might pivot years down the line. So kind of being transparent about what your passions are. And right now I'm in constant communication, like, I actually would like to pivot to this part of the project, and whether or not that happens is a different story. But just kind of being honest and transparent with yourself first, and then, with others is what has really helped me so far too. And anybody else we've got out there?
I can go.
Perfect.
Hi, I'm Alexis Yelton. I'm the head of data science at X0. So I work with Brenna. And I think I'm going to echo what a lot of people have said as to what has really accelerated my career, but I want to, dive into it a little differently. It's definitely been mentorship, very good mentors, managers or skip level managers, people who believed in me. And I think one reason that has really helped me is because I have had, worked in a number of different domains. I have a PhD in bioinformatics, and now I'm in cybersecurity. And I am no stranger to feeling like an imposter. I felt like an imposter for the beginning of pretty much every job that I've had. So having mentors who really believe in me and see my potential, despite the fact that I might not know as much about my job to begin as I want to, that has really helped me. And beyond that, it's really taught me that it's okay to feel really uncomfortable learning as you go. And now I feel like being comfortable with being uncomfortable, like that is the place you need to be to grow in your career. So I'm gonna pick Tatum. You haven't spoken, right?
Hello, hi, I'm Tatum. I'm currently a junior at UC San Diego studying data science. So as far as my career has gone, it's pretty short so far, but I'd say, I think being in this role, I'm currently on the outreach team at the data standards. So I've spoken to a few of you in the past, but I think that has been like really important, just networking and speaking with people in the field. Being at the position I am in my career, kind of learning about all the different things that people are doing and all of the kind of opportunities and things that I didn't even know were a thing has been really awesome for me in my position so far. So I think that, being able to network and hear what people are doing has given me an idea about, what I think I want to do in the future. So I think that, having those conversations and fostering those connections has been something that's been really cool so far for me for the past couple of months. But yeah. Does anybody else want to go? Yeah, Rizwana.
Thank you, Tatum. Hello, everyone. I'm Rizwana Rahman, and I'm a staff technical program manager at Sony Interactive Entertainment. First of all, I just wanted to thank Catherine and Cassidy for putting this together. This is amazing. I love to hear how our hosts, Christina and Tatiana, started, and then they talked about their experiences, how they travel all over the world. And I'm so proud to be here. I can't mention how thrilled I am, and I would love to do more of this. The biggest accelerator, all of you guys have shared so many amazing things. And I echo with what Christina mentioned in terms of mentor allyship. And Wendy talked about just going up and saying, hey, please consider me for these positions. Totally echo with all that, and what Nivi mentioned as well, taking risk. I would like to talk a little bit about an additional stuff that has been biggest accelerator. Learning from my mentees, learning from the people around me, not just experienced people, but then just everyone who's loved around me. I've learned a lot from my nieces and nephews. The fact that they are so curious, I would love to live all my life with that curiosity and never let that die. That has helped me in terms of being more inventive and innovative in my ideas at work. And I like to bring those examples and talk to people about it and say, this is what our thought process should be like about curiosity and persistence, not giving up. And I've seen that a lot in kids. They are so amazing at it. I would love to be like that. That's one. And then the other biggest accelerator, wherever I had, asked for opportunities and perhaps I wasn't ready for it, but I wanted to never give up on it, was where I picked up books of people who were ideal in my life, and I read about their life story. And I read about they were successful later, but how they overcame when they heard no. They were completely persistent about it. So I would like to pass it along and also share that with you all. And I just want to say today that be persistent, be curious, and I would love to see more women representation in STEM, and not just STEM. I would like to add the A, which is the STEAM, the art aspect to STEM. And with that, I will let the other person speak. I think, would Julie like to go next?
Sure, thanks. Hey everybody, I'm Julie Price. I'm a senior product manager at Single Store, formerly known as MemSQL. That you may recognize that name more. But we pivoted and changed names because we are, a database that can truly and efficiently and gracefully handle both transactional and analytical workloads, and really want to make sure that people understand that. My career path has been pretty interesting. I started off doing development and ultimately doing data architecture, shifting into solution or sales engineering. I worked with really large companies like SAP, Google, more on the cloud side of Google than on the marketing and ad side of Google. So working with things like BigQuery and other big data technologies, and then shifted over now to doing product management. And I would say, aside from network, which I think whenever I sometimes will talk to college students and things like that, I always talk about how important your network is, which is why a big part of the reason why we're all here. But aside from that, one of the things that I think has really helped me to accelerate my career and find the right place for myself was being really curious about different career paths that you can have in the data and analytics or technology space in general. I don't think you get a lot of that initially when you're in school or just coming right out of school. There's kind of like a boilerplate standard of these are the types of paths that you might take. I didn't know what a sales engineer was when I left university. I didn't know what a product manager was when I left university. And And so ultimately, being able to learn about the different career paths, talking to a lot of people to understand what those jobs entailed, even like developer advocacy is something that interests me a lot because I also do a lot of public speaking and evangelism. These are things I never would have known about. And once I learned about them, then I looked for impactful projects that would give me the opportunity to kind of try them out and gain some visibility. And so I think that combination of really understanding the different career paths or roles that are out there, finding people that are doing those roles, and then maybe finding ways that you can help out or do projects, that has been just truly impactful and genuinely has gotten me to this role that I'm in right now, which is really, I think, where I've always wanted to be without knowing that. So that's me. And I think, is it Olusei? We have one person left, right?
Yes, that's perfect. Hi. You can call me Shay. That's what my parents call me anyways. I'm originally from Nigeria. I moved to the US for school. My background or my undergrad was in management information systems. My dad was an engineer. I wanted to be an engineer, but I couldn't quite hack it. So I gave up and I did MIS instead. But I started off my career in inventory management. So I was more on the business side. I started to see a while ago that, some of those jobs would be going away soon because they were really easy. It would be easy to automate those jobs. So I started looking around for a different career path, and which led me to digital analytics. And I currently am on the digital analytics team, small business at JP Morgan Chase. Let's see, as far as career accelerators, like I said before, I was in a completely different career path. I was interested in digital analytics. I talked to someone at a previous company about what they did. And, they showed me the reports that they pulled and gave me some information about how they did their job. But there was a lot that I didn't know, and there were no opportunities at that company. So one accelerator I would say is being willing to move around from company to company. I know a lot of companies don't like that, hiring managers don't like that, but it really has been impactful for me. I especially like that because you get to see how different companies operate. Every company has a different model for how they run their analytics team, and how, especially with digital analytics, every website is different. So taking on different projects, one thing I would recommend is consulting. I did that in my past life. So you get formed out to different companies and you get to see how they run their digital analytics projects. Let's see. But I would say the biggest accelerator for me is networking. Like other people have mentioned, everything everyone has said has worked for me as well. But for me, networking was great. No opportunity at a previous company that I worked for. The first job that I got in digital analytics was from a friend of a friend that I met at a street fest. And it was for me just blabbing about, I really want this career. I really want to do this, but I can't find a way in. And he was like, we have an opening at my company. Why don't you just come work for us? And that's how I got in. So you never know where your first opportunity is going to come from. Networking doesn't just have to be, at an event like this. It doesn't have to be in a business frame. It can just be from you being out and about and just being passionate about what you want to do and just talking to people. Your first opportunity can come that way too. So that's me.
Awesome. And I think we have Alana left.
Yes, hi. It's Elena, but I know it's spelled like Alana. I blame my mother. I am actually currently in my last semester of undergrad, and I am lucky to be in the position of deciding where to go to grad school. I, just got my acceptance letters to 2 separate schools, so I'm in the process of deciding. Actually, deadline's tomorrow. But I guess for me, the greatest accelerant so far, when I started my undergrad, I was a musical theater major. And now I'm graduating with an anthropology degree and going to grad school for applied statistics and quantitative methods. So really, kind of like Brenna was saying, is just trying new things and kind of just following your gut on that and talking to people. I think for me, it's like that communication. Because you don't know what you're interested in until you hear someone else talk about it in a really passionate way. And that really, for me, has been the real driving force that's led me to where I am now. So I'm so lucky to have been in this conversation with all of you. Thank you for sharing.
Awesome. And I think we have gone through everyone. So since we only have a few more minutes, I think we have time for just one question, but I think we'll just leave it for Tatiana and Christina to answer. But if anyone has any questions that they want to bring up just so that they can answer, then feel free to unmute yourself.
Tatiana and Christina, I'll ask the age-old question. So being a woman in STEM, and both of you have such amazing and remarkable careers so far, how do you manage to balance things, right? So guest speaking, adjunct professorship, also working a day job, and then having a family. I've struggled with guilt at different parts in my life when the kids were small or whatever's happening, right? And how do you just manage all of that?
I can go ahead.
Great question. No, go ahead, Christina. I just wanted to acknowledge it's such a great question.
Yeah, this is a very typical question. I've heard that before, and it's a good question. So achieving balance, I can say that I've gotten better over time. I think especially at the start when I was involved with so many different jobs, initiatives, I didn't have balance, to be honest. And I had to learn over time that every time you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else. And I'm still working on that skill, but it's learning to prioritize better. Of course, time management and those types of things, but particularly for me, picking my battles and deciding, really analyzing every initiative I get proposed to be a part of, every event, every job, analyzing it and understanding what am I going to get out of this? What are they expecting from me? Understanding expectations. So learning how to say no has been very important to achieve that balance. And then I'm trying to think if there's any other big things as well. I would say that finding balance, it helps because I'm doing something that I love. So I have a passion for working in data. I have a passion for participating in these types of events with all you wonderful women. So it's not like it costs energy for me. I actually enjoy it and it energizes me. So I love doing stuff like this. It doesn't take anything out of me. It's just a matter of prioritizing in the end and making sure that I stay online to do something that I love. And I'll let you answer as well, Tatiana.
I want to I echo a lot of the points you just made, Christina, but I do want to acknowledge I do not have kids. And I think this is an important disclaimer to make. I feel like with a family relationship, like, if you have a significant other that you're in relationship with, or if you have parents, for example, or relatives that you're taking care of, this is a very, it's not something that you can that's just there, and you just kind of like, well, let's see what happens if I put my career first and then the relationship on the back burner. Sometimes you just don't have a choice when you have kids, when you have elderly relatives. It's just not something that you can choose necessarily to deprioritize the way, and it is hard for me too. I honestly don't have a good way of balancing. I try to, and earlier, a few years ago, one tactic I was trying to employ was I was looking at trying to figure out how men do this. It's like, how do they do this? And the truth is they don't, or a lot of the people, men I know, they just don't. They do have to, balance and prioritize. But I want to say a couple of things that really helped me. First is this idea that your life is not a bunch of activities that you do and you prioritize within them. So for example, my job, I'm going to work from 9 to 5 and this is my job and I'm not doing anything else. Or for example, my evening, this is my family time and I'm not doing anything else, or weekend or what have you. I'm looking at my life as a whole, like I have 24 hours and I have one me and I have 10 things to do. One of them could be to take care of my, family in a certain way, and the other one could be to prepare for this event or to, set up a meeting for a project for my day job, or set up a workshop for the board job that I have in the association. So I kind of like put them all together, and I try to prioritize all of them, so against each other. And I'm not trying to do it in silos, because what I've learned from myself is that it's kind of futile to think that you just have a lot of mini yous out there that prioritize their own work in their own siloed world. No, and it's okay. Like if you need to go out and buy groceries, like that's a task that it's not going to do itself. It's not going to complete itself. So it has to be sort of like deprioritized. And sometimes my day job get deprioritized because of this, because I choose to deprioritize certain things in my day job. So that's sort of like holistic project management. And then the other thing is, if I feel like if you have a partner who shares the responsibilities with you, that also helps, because then you just make agreements and you say, okay, this is how we're going to quarterback each other, and this is how we're going to split responsibilities that are shared. And I know that not every family is like that, and some families are a little bit more just sort of, there is an expectation that you as a woman would be doing certain things. But I really appreciate when I see relationships within the family where people, it doesn't have to be strictly, people who are in a relationship. It could be your mother, your niece, your sister, that they share responsibilities with you because you live together. And so you just agree that you're going to quarterback each other every time there is a shared responsibility that comes up. So I find that useful too.
And just to add, I also don't have kids, so +1 to that. I totally understand. For those also that have kids, you've got something else in your life as well, very, very important, or taking care of elderly family members. So that is definitely something that should have a very heavy priority. And maybe sometimes male allies, they don't have that same pressure. But I would say, at least personally, I'm lucky to have, I have a partner. I was actually recently married, but he does support me a lot. And I have a partner who supports me very much in all of my initiatives. And he will come to my events. He's pushing for women in tech. And I imagine that when we have kids as well, I would expect more of a balance between us. So it definitely, I think it would help in that sense. And Catherine, I don't know if you'd like to, we can take one more question from the audience, or what do you think, Catherine?
One more. Yeah, I think we have time for one more. I think Rizwana has a question, so we can have Christina and Tatiana answer again.
Thank you, Catherine.
Perfect.
And thanks, Christina and Tatiana, for the previous answer and for the next question. My next question is, what is your perspective about women representation in leadership in technology and how we can bolster it?
I can start. So I have to say the leadership representation has lasted even before my I have to say that it started when I started in my career in tech, in data analytics. 100% of the leadership positions were occupied by men, no exception. Then over the years, I've started noticing that some of the female leaders, they became dominant, if not at the top leadership position, but at least in the middle management. And then I saw just maybe in the last 3 years how, more and more women started to take on, more high-level leadership position, usually coming from the outside of the industry, because the industry just doesn't have enough people. Sometimes, women would come from academia. Sometimes they would come from the industries that are genuinely more dominant or dominated by women. But it's always outside of the industry. It's very rare because we don't have our own women to begin with. But I have to say that in my opinion, and I kind of stand by it quite strongly, is that the biggest pull or the biggest leverage that we have over bringing more women into the leadership position is at the sort of like mid-senior level. Because if you think about it, the the top leader, your C-suite executive, is responsible for the vision and the mission of the company. And even though it's a nice idea to think that this person should be a woman, many times it's just not. But at the same time, the person who's at the top executive level is responsible for overall strategy. And then they usually tend to trust their own teams to hire and grow the rest of the teams, and while they're out there talking to executives. And for now, and I know that it doesn't sound, I'm trying to be practical about this because I'm obviously an advocate for having more women at the top leadership, but until that happens, or until we have more women who've gone through that senior mid-level management roles, which I find that there is the biggest void is in that space. I actually trust my male top executive to navigate that executive arena together with other men, because that's what usually happens. They're all men there, while I focus on hiring more women in the junior and junior management level roles, and then ultimately middle and senior management, because I recognize that in 5 years from now, when my top executives are going to retire, the women in the senior mid-level management level, they're going to be experienced enough to take over more of those executive roles. So that's my focus, and that has been my focus for the last 2 to 3 years. Christina, what has been your experience?
First, that's a really good point about if we don't have this like mid-management full of females, we're not just going to overnight move from the bottom to the top. So it is going to be a progression. But what I'm seeing as a problem, to talk about a different point, I guess, would be one, and this was commented before about mentorship. There is like a lack of mentorship, a lack of role models that are female. And I think mentors, and particularly having female mentors, could help, especially, like we said, juniors or people in mid-management, to keep growing, to keep pushing them. So that's one thing, getting more role models, more mentors. And then another thing that I think we can work on is like learning how to sell our accomplishments more, building confidence. I think it was Bobby, I believe, that mentioned about when we apply to jobs, women, we wait until we have 100% of the requirements, whereas males will typically apply with 60%. I don't know, Bobby, if you have done the I Am Remarkable workshop. Have you? Or does that not sound familiar? No, I see you shaking your head. No.
Nope, I have not done that one.
Okay, so when you quoted that, it reminded me of I Am Remarkable. I don't know if anyone here has participated in that, but if you haven't, I recommend going and searching for that after this. Just put I Am Remarkable and you'll find it. But that's an initiative that grew out of Google, and now it's an external initiative workshop. And it uses that quote about applying to jobs, and it compares the statistics that we see. But it also talks about how women and just underrepresented groups in general, we are a lot more humble with our accomplishments, with our skills, and we need to work on selling them and selling ourselves. And the workshop focuses on that. So I highly recommend checking it out and also doing it yourself. But we can work on that. Many times, us as women, we do hold back more than we should. Maybe it's a cultural thing. Maybe we've been taught that since we were young. But work on selling yourself and apply to jobs, even if you've only got half or 60%, 70% of the requirements. You don't have to be perfect. So I think some of it does fall back on us to shoot for the stars, go out of your comfort zone, and just push yourself. And this is going to be progression. I mean, it's going to be from junior to mid, and eventually we hope to C-level suite.
Thank you, Tatiana and Christina.
You're welcome.
All right, awesome. I think we are out of time now, and I just want to say thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. It was so great to hear everybody's just backgrounds and where everyone kind of stands with their careers. So thank you so much for joining us today, and we hope to definitely have more events like this in the future. So hopefully we could see everybody back in this Zoom room together again. But yeah, after this call, I'll also make sure to send out some type of document or something just so that everybody can find ways to connect with each other on LinkedIn. But yeah, thank you so much for joining, and I hope everyone has a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Really nice to meet
Thank
you.
you for hosting.
Great meeting.